Good morning. Happy Friday. And big jobs report. What I see, it's worse than anticipated, and the markets have moved up a little bit, which means they don't know what the hell to do. And I think I'm going to need more information for myself anyway to know what to do here. Um, so, as said earlier in the week, does this weekly bar close looking something like this? Or do buyers find some reason to step up and turn this into a bottoming tail bar? Um, Sell climactic, sell CCS. Not a stock, CCS. Um, so this is rather almost meaningless at this point. I mean, it's in the middle of this range. Um, so really no big deal. Credit calls, yeah. Of course, if you can find the premium, but you're gonna have to go out till next week, other than zero DTE today, of course. But finding the premium other than SPX is the you know, the battle or whatever to find that, because there hasn't, the premiums have shrunk in a lot of things and having to go out to next week now. But we'll see where this bar ends the day. Um, so crawling up it into the void. And so there's nothing here, this minor resistance here, which really isn't much in this whipsaw that occurred. So that's got to settle down. But things are beginning to get to a point where, hey, they're going to have to move one way or the other. And I guess the weekly bar is going to give us some guidance by the end of the day here. You see the 20, the 50, the 200, they're beginning to converge because there's just a lot of whipsaw kind of price action going on at a certain level. And we've been talking for weeks about this 4,000 strike in SPX, not ES here, in SPX, having this large open interest, basically being a battle between puts and calls, bearish bets and bullish bets, kind of having things just kind of not moving very far one way or the other from there. So just looking at, most of them are going to expire in 7 days. That doesn't mean they won't go out to the next month. So just looking out 42 days at 4,000, it's less than half of what it is right now, and the one's expiring in a week. And we'll just have to see how this unfolds. But next week is another options expiration. So there'll be more inflation reports, and we'll worry about another news item for day to day and which way prices are going to go as things just gyrate around here. All right, so factory work. Spiders, where are you? Little whipsaw action there. Exactly, Alex. And more inflation stuff. Bottom of the wide range bar. I would say short term things are extended to the downside. Right? Greater than 100% retracement. Nothing happening here. Um, you know, maybe everybody's kind of waiting to see, can it retrace, go sideways. Interest rates are dropping here. So I want to get to that and see some other things here, but let's get past SPX. So bottom of the range. Let's get rid of this for now. Bottom of the range. And yesterday was big down day. Banks, right? That's a big, what's going on with these banks? And getting all killed here now. That's bearish, but the market's kind of brushing it off for now. And let's just say 60 points down. Where's that going to put us? All right, so highly unlikely, to be down from here to here, greater than 100% retracement, and go down that far. So I had written down before 38.30. That's 38.30 is below here, and it's into support. Yep, that's good. Right, 38.40. Yeah, 38.40 should be okay. Should be okay. Got to get past this pivot, so that's good. The average over the last several days has been about 60 points. I don't know, of course, this one isn't, but we're averaging out what's happening here. So little common sense is saying, can it do another 60 points today? Probably not. But if it did, that would, we assume that would be extreme. So being 38.40 should be fine. Up above 40.15. Yep, that's what I got, Jake, 40.15. And so if we drag that up here, 40.15 is up at the top of that range. There is the void. You got 4,000 in front of it. Probably not, but this one, the downside, since it's down multiple days in a row, the downside is the no-brainer. The upside is unlikely, but I wouldn't call it a no-brainer. I mean, why the markets would rally that far and negate this bar? Well, stranger things have happened. So down below, highly unlikely it's going there. Qs are up a little bit, gapping up into the red bar. It's got the void. And the only thing I can imagine why they're happy here, right, is the 10-year is dropping like a rock. And it's on the 50 MA, the 5-year dropping, and these yield curves, these shorter term ones are flipping up here, coming up towards zero. So we'll see how this day ends. There's, the weekly of SPX here. You see interest rates moving down. So positives going on here, but we just have to see what happens. I think these markets are just kind of confused at the moment, and maybe hedges that are being taken off because of this report. And we'll see how it all shakes out by the end of the day. So on the 200 MA, stabilizing. There's things I guess are just down enough for markets to stabilize at this point. But look, this is bearish. Heading down sideways. An attempt to go up totally failed. And well, I don't know. I wouldn't call it washed out yet. And I wouldn't call it washed out yet because, this starting on the way down, and sentiment isn't down here into the green. So, breadth is at an, somewhat at an extreme. It could go lower, down near 300 or so, which would be more historically aligned with a short-term bounce. But sentiment is not anywhere near. I don't want that one. All right, so this is the same thing we're looking at here. This is equities, equity put call. It's in the middle. So no, it's not washed out. We need, you need to see the proverbial blood in the street screaming. I think the market's already down a huge amount, and option traders are betting that it's going to continue. It's going to crash. And we don't have that. And the situation with these banks, you saw what was going on yesterday. That's not, that's a little scary. What's going on there. These are financial institutions. So Citibank. Take a look at it. I don't know why this is taking so long to come up, but anyway, I don't want to take too much time. You saw what's happening to these banks there. Yeah. YM, breaking down under this base now. Let's take a look at diamonds. What were they recovering? Yeah, breaking down under all these pivots, all this topping. So, there's positive stuff going on here. So, look, we've had this conversation about interest rates. And so, from one point of view, them coming down is a positive because why do interest rates go up? Demand for money or inflation. Right? Why inflation? Because I want to make money on what I lend, so I got to get a higher rate of interest. So now it's coming out and interest rates are going down. Well, does that mean now that inflation is behind us? Hell no. We all know that it's still there, but in anticipation the Fed is going to continue to raise interest rates, but more likely they're going down because they see a recession and there is going to be less demand for money. So supply and demand. We'll get the confirmation of that in a few weeks, I'm sure. All right. Just looking at others. So gold should be going up and retesting that low here. It's worth considering on a pullback. Silver. That broke down, but let's see if this begins to come back up again. We've got time. They're just starting to turn. Back, it looks like down to the bottom of the range. There's nothing going on there. Christmas tree kind of pattern, red, green on the weekly chart. And, Bitcoin, that looks like there's nothing to stop it. There's whatever this gap is that it's stalled there, but there's really little to nothing to stop this from going down. So, between this situation with banks, Bitcoin dropping, other things going on in the world, China, Russia, Ukraine, inflation, loose cannon in the White House. I don't sound like we're going to get any bull market advances anytime soon. So let's see what today brings us. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. So give Alex credit saying this report was not going to be the mover that everybody thought it was in light of, I guess you said Wednesday and Thursday's data points. Everybody thought today was going to be an Armageddon move. And, I don't know. I didn't have an opinion. But I did say if I had to pick, I would pick a gap up. Just because of this, down so many bars, greater than 100% retracement, waterfall into the close. So yeah, we'll see how we close. We're selling off here from the pre-market highs right now. So Greg gave you the bias. And I was asking in the room yesterday, I said, what is the news to create this nasty sell-off after the morning strength and the market gap up? And Debbie came in and said credit, and I in retrospect I think she was 100% right. I think the risk of just the contagion of the bank's credit crisis is what got into people's head and shook off the morning gap up. So yeah, and I made the comment on this yesterday. I said it 3 or 4 times. I said this looks like it can go bankrupt the way it was getting dumped yesterday. That was fundamental analysis. And yeah, Alex just posted some news that they were trying to raise $2 billion to get some money for their losses and credit crunch and all that. And he says that failed. They're trying to sell itself. So it'll be interesting to see what it opens up at. I have JP Morgan. You know, whenever I see something like this, I'm thinking long or a bounce. It's just a matter of how to get on board. Started off strong here. This was, if it held this pre-market gain, I would have waited, you know, I would say maybe 10, 15-minute high. We could do a day trade into this void. We got a void daily week, no, daily 15. But now it's making new lows here. Diamonds here were been the weakest. They're back to the pre-market lows. So yeah, things are dicey here. Let's go through earnings and other things I'm looking at. Oracle, that's a nasty gap. We were saying yesterday that we didn't want to sell puts on this because of this void unless there was a juice at the 80s, and there was not. So no pattern now. We'll come back to you. Ulta looks like a short. A nice breakout failure, range expansion, sell set up at the 20, gapping down. That looks great. I'm going to put that in a window. Ulta. And it has, you know, these are earning stocks, so it'd be a beautiful call spread if they're liquid and juice. Gapping up, no pattern. Daku. Ooh, that's ugly. I actually had this on my core long list if it could take out yesterday's high, because the weekly and monthly were bullish, and now they're not. That's massive damage to Daku. Mountain looks like a continuation short. HCP. Oh, this is the only earnings options trade I did. I shorted the 25 puts, gapping up to 31. So I sold them, I think, 55 cents. I'm just going to bid a nickel to get out. GPS 10. Wow. Wow, this could be a gap and snap candidate, although the weekly still looks lower. So it's gapping 1040 to this little breakout area. I'll put that in a window, see what it does at the open. GPS. QFIN. Looks like it's headed, looks like a magnet to the 200. HRT, there's no gap, but that looks lower. Looks like it's gapping down here, but I don't know, $5 stock, no interest. Archer, no pattern, $2 stock. JKS. Now this was another one that I had on my list as a long over yesterday's high, because then it would be a red bar ignored breakout. But now it's gapping here to the bottom of the range, so we'll just have to watch it. This one's gapping up, bullish gap, but too extended. Beaky 30. You know, I'm going to set an alarm at 38, because if it can get over all of that, then it will be a breakdown failure with a void. So we're going to see if it can get up there. Tango Hotel, no pattern. Gen. This one I had on my list as a potential gap and snap, but I don't see any patterns. And what gap and snap means, it's a climactic buy setup far from the 20. And then you get an exhaustion gap lower and it snaps right back over, you know, the general rule, just like 30-minute high. but we obviously just keep an eye on it. We did MT live on gaps, so that if it had a big gap down, that's what we call a novice gap. 222, no pattern. All right, these were just leftover stocks. Tapestry was a breakdown from a little bear flag. That looks like a short on a bounce. I just saw this lunar at the market close yesterday. Look at that beautiful bar. 15-minute chart on support. Look at that volume. So let's keep an eye on old lunar here. KRE we know about, down more with SIVB down. Bird had earnings. Now this is a potential gap in snap, but it's more of bearish activity. It's not as climactic, far from the 20 as this other one I mentioned, GEN. See the difference of this one? This one is a waterfall, and if it gaps, whereas this one looks like people were dumping into earnings. I don't like trading $2 stocks unless you get a beautiful setup. Loco, it's actually fairly bullish, but I can't tell where it's opening. Zoom Z. I see one print at 20. If it is opening at 20, I don't know. Got to see what it does at the market open. Man, I don't think I have one tier 1 watch. Maybe that Alta is the best one I see so far. NX, no prints, really no pattern, but we'll come back to you. Oh, why am I looking at NX? I don't know. CMTL, I don't know, no volume though. SSYS got, I think, a buyout offer, a non-binding one, but that's a bullish gap, bullish weekly, monthly. And this is a competitor, Triple D, but it's doing absolutely nothing and no pattern, so no interest. Frick is another one. Frick is another one that looks like it's just in pain. We actually shorted $75 puts on this, so we're in pain now too. This is right at our short put. You know, we did this yesterday when it had this beautiful stabilization pre-market, and that was, at least my implication was, oh, this one's it must be a real bank as opposed to that SIVB. But you know, that's what happens when you get credit crisis and you get people hitting the bid and you get people scared. You know, I actually emailed my dad today, who has, you know, he has cash in many different accounts, and one of them's at UFB, a regional bank, and he has over the 250 limit. And I said, you better get the excess out of that thing ASAP. So, you know, it does affect people's behavior, including mine. I went through all these accounts and I'm like, to me, any regional bank is at risk. So why the hell do you want money in there that's not FDIC insured? Roblex got an upgrade. This could be, if it could just give me 2 more inside bars and the market stabilize, maybe next week, it breaks out and kind of does a measured move and bring it back to the prior highs. So 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. GDX. Greg mentioned, look, it's threatening yesterday's high now. So 30-minute high. This is a textbook double bottom. Momentum move, made a bounce, and the retest always come in different flavors, always. And this flavor is a failed 1, 2, 3. If it closes above yesterday's high. SE. Yes, dude. SE, this is one, big old move on earnings. It's bullish weekly, monthly. So I'm purposely, it's doing exactly what I want. I want it to chop around for 3, 4, 5 days in the upper third to prove demand, that it doesn't retrace into this. And then that'll give us a nice entry next week. Okta, same. Greg says same but different. Right? Here's my earnings gap up, another green bar, and it's holding the upper part of this range. Just pretend these two bars are one bar, one wide range bar. So this is bullish consolidation in the upper third of that. Soxel. There's, I don't know, there's just not a pattern for me right yet. TTC, this was incredible relative strength yesterday. I'm hoping for an inside bar today that stays above this 15-minute support, 114.70. You give me an inside bar, and then it'll be on the list for the weekend letter for next week. Greg, you mentioned this BKU. I just had a low alarm go off. Now this is I would prefer the gap to be even lower, but this is the flavor of the gap and snap. I just wish it gapped to $28 and then it got its sea legs back, because see, this is an end of day base. Remember, this is right out of Wednesday's session, MT Live. This is not a good gap trade because it's of this end of day base. Roblox, yeah, I mentioned, Patrick, that I'd like it to go, I'd like 2 inside bars, and then I would like it for next week. FDN, we had low alarm. Looks horrible. Shop, we have a put spread. Yeah, we'll give that a few minutes. All right, deeper trade. Whoa, IWM through the lows. This guy's being a total jackass to me right now. This HCP I'm bidding 5 cents to get out. Okay, he finally low. No, the quote is 5 cents by $2. Friggin' animal won't let me out. Idiot animal. So now I'm gonna bid 10 cents to get out.